2 weeks ago, we changed the game when it comes to SharePoint podcasts with episode 1 with Alyssa Blackburn from AvePoint and Mita Tait, of course, our M365 practice lead here at First Focus. Last week, if you haven't watched it, we talked all about why the Privacy Act or how the Privacy Act changes have driven a very strong focus or renewed focus on SharePoint governance, data governance in general too. And then we went on to talk about the link between AI readiness and a strong SharePoint game. Today, we're going to start to dive more into how to actually prepare SharePoint for AI tools and how to identify and secure sensitive data in your M365 environment. Again, all the things we're covering today are off the back of the key questions raised in our event series last quarter, which went around 5 of the states here in Australia, and were really of the most use to the people that attended those events. So with all of that said, I am going to throw to Mia first up to essentially talk about the fundamentals when it comes to preparing SharePoint, the how to prepare SharePoint for AI readiness.
Yeah. So look, it is kind of rehashing what we talked about in the event series.
That's all right. We only had 150 people attend that. We got 26,000 people on LinkedIn and 6,000 on YouTube. So I think there'll be some that missed out.
Okay. So look, I think the key thing is understanding, like, the whole picture is around data readiness. Mm-hmm. And what that looks like is essentially making sure the data is accurate, timely, tells a story, and that, it's not completely irrelevant. People are getting access to things that they need to get access to. And so, it's all well and good to say that, but then, okay, like you said, how do we actually do that? And so the way that we can do that, in the first place that we need to start, is consolidating our data. So that doesn't necessarily mean, like, you might say, well, I've got it all together in Microsoft, sort of, but that in itself can also require a little bit of consolidation and understanding. Mm-hmm. But if you're listening and you're sort of going, well, actually, I don't quite know. I think we got a bit in Google Drive, got a bit in Dropbox, got a bit in Box. We've got, some stuff on people's desktops, God forbid. Then that's the first place to start. Even when we had the event series, someone raised their hand and they were like, well, what about platforms? What about Employment Hero or Xero or something like that? And I'm like, yep, put it all down, note it down, do your stock take, do a reconciliation, understand where your data is. And off the back of episode 1, when Alyssa was awesomely talking about the changes to the Privacy Act, I mean, you're going to need to do that stock take anyway, right? Yeah. So understand where the data is, consolidate as much as you can, and through that process, you'll obviously be assessing the data that you have. What is it? Is it relevant? Is it obsolete? Is it trivial? And, is it highly sensitive? Is it business critical? All those different things. Once we actually then understand the data, we know where it is, understand it, we can then secure and govern.
Exactly. But unless we know what it is, where it is, how sensitive it is, what's the risk, what's the value, things like that, you can't make any of those decisions about how to.
Yeah.
So you have to start, that's your essential number one starting place.
Yeah. And look, you can't do that by yourself. I think we've already spoken about this previously, but you literally cannot do this by yourself. You need a tool. We use AvePoint policies and insights. We also use their migration tool Fly. We also use Opus and the dashboard involved. We're all over it. But this allows us to make some awesome, recommendations for clients. But if nothing else, just give them a picture of what's there for that assessment to happen.
That's within SharePoint only, though?
Look, it does do. This is, obviously, I'm coming at it from a Microsoft 365 lens, because I'm a Microsoft 365 girly, but essentially the tool can look at all the different locations. So look, a client comes to us, asks us to do a migration into SharePoint. Of course, the tools can look at Dropbox, a Drive, servers, Box, all the different you name it, it can assess it.
And as the Opus representative at the table, I can also confirm that it can look at file shares, Google Drive, it can look at OneDrive,
Yes.
Things like that. So Opus can be connected to a number of different content sources.
Very cool.
As well. So,
Yeah, that's right.
Because we do recognise that, Microsoft is an incredible platform as evidenced by the number of people using it.
Yeah.
But we do know that organisations still have content in other places as
Totally.
well.
For,
that
and
needs
for
to
good
be
reason
managed.
a lot of the time, you know.
Absolutely.
And so we're so happy that we have the AvePoint tools to help us do that. Once you've got that understanding, you can then structure your data, configure the permissions. You can then, around the data that is personally identifiable or that is highly sensitive, you can have restrictions around how you interact with that data. You know, that can be done through the AvePoint tools, through policies, or it can be done through Purview with Microsoft, data loss prevention. You know, all those options come to the table. But I think it does get pretty confusing and overwhelming. The security and governance piece is kind of just like, I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm just going to look the other way. And we've got some permissions there, and that'll do. But changes to Privacy Act, AI coming into place, all these things, unfortunately, we can't turn a blind eye anymore. There does have to be a bit of a security and governance plan in place. It doesn't matter what size you are or, you know, what the business is.
So is it step one, since you identify the data you've got, identify which of that you still need. Number 3, actually determine that SharePoint is your place for that data going forward.
Yeah.
Is there a step forward? There's an enforcement or policy piece. Policies probably just gather dust, but presumably you can enforce those policies inside of SharePoint and not allow people to share outside or
Totally.
in a certain way.
So you have to, it's all fine to have all of this stuff and to do all of the front work, which is absolutely essential. But if you then don't do anything with it, it's just a document that's sitting there gathering dust.
Yeah.
So you actually have to put things in place. It's like getting somebody to come in and clean your house, and they do a whole big massive declutter and things like that, and then you never change anything. And then essentially what your options are, either you get in there and manually, clean your house every day or every week or things like that, or you hire somebody to come in and do it for you. And so it's about basically having a pseudo cleaner come in and making sure that, did the forks get put away with the other forks? Did the clothes that the kids have outgrown, go in the bag for donation? Did is the important stuff in the right filing drawer so I can find it, I can find the kids' birth certificates when I need to apply for a passport or something like that. You need that ongoing stuff. You can't just say, oh great, we've got this awesome policy and then not implement something.
I think you've hit on a really good point there, because it kind of was like that. We kind of just did a set and forget, big old spring clean, and that was it. And now we just can't. It has to be an ongoing monitoring and maintenance piece in relation to security and governance now. It's not I'm going to set these policies up and it's done for me. It's I need to get in there and look at a dashboard, a platform. How are people interacting? I need some alert policies. I need to understand it, because we all know, and we've seen it, if you restrict something too much because you're like, oh, let's just lock that down, people will complain because they can't do their job properly, or they'll just be sneaky, download it, put it in somewhere else, send an attachment. So we need a balance there, and it needs to be logical and still effective for the end user. So the governance and security piece is huge, and as I say, it used to be kind of a set and forget. Now it's all of it has to be an ongoing, moving piece, and businesses just can't do it by themselves anymore.
And I think also we're moving from a state of where this used to be sort of a centralised admin function, but again, it's too big. It's too much. So we're now moving to a state where it's much more like of a shared accountability. And that means that users need to be involved in that, because particularly if they're the ones setting permissions on things, and me, I absolutely don't need to tell you this, permissions in SharePoint can get granular.
Hairy, real hairy.
We're going to talk about that a lot in this episode.
And so users need to, when that has happened, kind of thing, maybe in 6 months' time, that doesn't need to be the case, but there needs to be an automated process where we can review that and where they can 100%. Say, actually, oh no, this is not right. Or where let's say every 3 months or something, they review the people who have access to a particular team. They just do a quick email, hey, these people still have access to your team. Are you sure you want that? Oh, actually, no, that person moved departments 3 months ago. No, I don't want them out. All of this stuff can be set up, but for them to feel like they're also still in control of what's going on.
No, hands down.
So I think to nail subject 1, episode 2, it's clear that you need to understand what you need to keep. You need to have a clear policy around where you're going to store it. You need to have someone who owns that environment. But from a more, I guess, a granular perspective, what does that initial review of the data look like? My understanding is AvePoint essentially allows us to look at duplicates, version history, kind of understand where all the things are, so that you can make choices. But just run me through that a little bit to give me the people hopefully watching, what that actually looks like in practice.
Yeah. So once we do all of the, analysis and we create the reports, we present that back obviously to the clients. And so a lot of that, the first filter in the report usually goes, how old is this stuff? And so the thing is, unfortunately, sorry businesses, but there's a lot of homework for you guys. Like, it's not something that we can tell you and dictate to you because it is your information. So you need to look at this, you need to scrutinize it and go, what is our strategy here? We can give you recommendations, but there's so many things at play. It's legal, but then also, there's other guide rails that come into play dependent on the industry, all sorts of things. So you might say, look, this stuff is like plus 7 years. I don't want to bring it in anymore. I don't want it anymore. So you might have a conversation around, okay, cool, anything that's 7+ goes here, and then 5 to 7 might go here. But that's something that the businesses need to sort of come in with an open mind or, a plan, essentially.
Yeah, it's also a case of you can't make good decisions unless you've got the information that you need.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in our first episode from an end user perspective, but it's exactly the same from an administrator perspective. How can you make good decisions about what should be retained versus what could be destroyed and things like that, unless you actually know what's going on in your environment. And that's essentially why we have the tools that we do. Is first of all, let's help you understand your environment. Let's see what's actually going on in there and give you some insight so that you can make some good decisions about, actually, I really need to keep this. Maybe I don't need to keep it in the most expensive storage.
Yeah.
Maybe I can store it in
Saving
blob storage.
money.
Save some money. Oh yeah. Everybody loves that one, definitely.
Yes.
But also there could be things like, what's our policy on versions? And versions in M365 are really different to the way that we know versions in a SharePoint on-prem world. We're not really talking about things like major, minor. When autosave is on, you can have 25 versions in the space of half an hour sometimes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It's one of the first things we actually, we'll get to that in later episodes, but it's one of the first things we say for people to look at when they want to reduce their storage quota. But I think, so understanding the data, where it is, and then, from there you can make good decisions. The date is a good one, file type. A lot of people go, oh, cool, that's all this media stuff. Like, let's come up with a solution for what we're going to do with all of that. And then they might say, like, there's, this whole archive folder that, we'll review that. Okay, cool, that can go straight into Azure or something. But, that's the first piece, is understanding the data, having some, I guess, parameters in place, guide rails in place to understand then what. We usually sort of say the active data then goes into a, optimization restructure if you're already in there, or if it's a migration piece, then that kind of forms the basis of what we build out and migrate. But that's kind of, and then duplicates, of course. Like, if there's actual duplicates, and businesses need to make the call on, okay, well, that is 100% what that is, let's remove them. Because we can't be pressing that delete button, but that's the starting point.
And then I think, like, the net thing from that is when we've got all of that cleaned up and we're now dealing with essentially a subset of the content, then we can start to look at, okay, what's risky, what's valuable, what's sensitive, things like that. So rather than doing it on everything, we just do it on the stuff that's actually important and the stuff that's relevant, which makes that job a whole lot easier. And we're still going to need to use tools because we're still talking about way too much content, but we're not talking about literally everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It becomes all of a sudden way more manageable.
Absolutely.
Than at the start. And people get so overwhelmed. But once you do that first step, it's like, oh, okay, I think I got this.
Yeah. It's like cleaning my 9-year-old daughter's room, who, by the way, just, pat on the back to me, potentially the messiest room in Australia. But she gets really
honestly
over...
I'll take that challenge. I have two 12-year-olds who are just the worst.
But when I go in there with her, she's completely overwhelmed. So first of all, we have to just start and say, okay, let's just put all the shoes away. Now let's put all the books away. Now let's clean up all the chip packets and things like that. Even though I've told you repeatedly, don't eat in your room. Why are there chip packets in here? But anyway, sorry, that's another podcast. And so it's the same as doing this with an organisation. It is overwhelming, and I am overwhelmed by it. I get it. It's not an unusual position to be in at all.
It's funny you said that.
That's why we're here to help with that.
As soon as you say to someone, every single time, it's okay, this is actually really normal.
The shame disappears.
They're just like,
thank God.
Okay.
I thought it was
I'm not bad at my job. This is normal.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I mean, we have that in our own working lives. Kind
Validation.
Of thing. Yeah. I've got a work buddy that sometimes I just need to call every now and then and say, "Am I going mad?
Are you also crying?"
Yeah,
Okay,
he'll say, "No, it's not just you. This other thing just happened to me." And I'll be like, "Okay, all right, great. It's no problem at all." It's the same. This is an overwhelming challenge. This is unprecedented. We've never had to deal with this
and it's
before.
going to get harder.
Oh, it's going to get so much worse.
We need a plan.
Which is why you should do it now. Click here for more information.
All right, so in the recent event series that you hosted, there was a lot of talk about one of the key reasons, other than AI readiness, other than Privacy Act compliance, the other driving factor in a lot of businesses as to why they're looking at SharePoint is the cost of storage, data storage, and as the documents and data in general just grows at an enormous rate, which we just covered, that seemed to be a big factor. So can you talk me through like the reason why there is such an increase, what that looks like in practice, what you're hearing from businesses?
Oh, look, remember the term digital transformation?
I do.
So basically, 10 years ago, I mean, we were doing migrations, or even 15 years ago, we were doing migrations, and everyone's like, cool, let's just get it in there. We'll get it in the cloud. Let's don't even have to worry about it. And now we've, enter in this digitization of everything, so we've got just snowball, growth of data, just getting pummeled into the cloud. And on top of that now, throw in AI, where you can create a document in like 10 seconds. And this is not going to be a problem that's going to go away anytime soon. So
have storage costs themselves stayed relatively flat, but just the pure volume, or is it a bit of both?
Bit of both, I think.
I
I think the challenge is, though, like, it is just something that no one's really had to look at until the last sort of couple of years.
Massive
because of it.
Okay.
And, then we've got a lot more, the whole social media introduction to businesses as well, where people could kind of stay away from that, not have to worry too much about that digital creation style of advertising. And now everyone's doing videos and, reels and all the things, and that's all stored somewhere. And so whether it's in SharePoint or any other tool, like, it's cloud storage costs are a thing that are just hammering everyone.
The very nature even of just our basic documents have changed.
Yes.
It's not just text anymore.
That's so true.
It's charts
Imagery,
and tables
videos.
and pictures and GIFs and all of that kind of stuff will just go into a standard Word document. So a Word document that might have been 37 kilobytes is now 56 meg kind of thing. And so
plus, and then you add version control
versions
on it, right?
Yes.
So that's the other thing. When you start, going, cool, I want a document management system instead of just file storage, then you've got version control and all this metadata that's attached to it. But the versions then, whether you realize it or not, all contribute. And then you've got cloud recycle or storage bins, which all contribute to it as well. So this is something, that's just absolutely astronomical for a lot of businesses.
Can I tell you a story about versions?
Yes,
okay.
tell me.
So one of the organisations that I work with, they're licensed for just under 100 terabytes. That was what their contract was.
Wow, that's a good old
big
organisation.
Well, actually, they're not even a massive organisation, but the type of information that they create is huge. Okay. And so they've exactly what you were talking about, a lot of new media stuff, a lot of videos, they do advertising and stuff. So, what they're holding on to is big. So they're licensed for about 100 terabytes. They were sitting just shy of 880 terabytes in there. So 8 times what they should have, 8 times what they should have had. Anyway, we did an analysis with them to, again, understand what's going on in your environment.
The tool would have really earned its money.
Oh my goodness, did we have fun with that one. But the results were astounding. 880 terabytes was versions.
Oh my God.
Of the 880 terabytes that they were
Absolutely
storing,
useless data. Well,
680 of it was versions.
That is such a cool find, though. You would have been
Isn't
like,
it? Yeah,
"Woo!
honestly,
We could save you money."
I did the analysis of it because this was before we had actually had it out in the product. So I had to do a manual analysis of it. And I think I checked it 7 times because I was like, there's no way this can be right. But
So
no, it
you
was
were the
absolutely...
you were the one doing it.
I
was saying the tool was earning it.
Yeah, it's me in the background, like typing as fast as I can. No, it's all in the tool now, believe me. But this was before we had that available. And so yeah, 680 odd
Wow.
terabytes of content was just versions. So when anybody says to me, I've got a storage challenge, the first thing I say is, have you looked at versions?
Yeah, that is so good.
Yeah. So that's a really interesting one. So that wasn't going to get them under their licensed storage allowance. There was still more that they needed to do. But my goodness,
There was probably another 100 of duplicates after that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And yeah, it was astounding. And I remember when we presented it to them, one of the people on the call, he could only laugh. Like he was so stunned that he could only
quick fix though
laugh. Yeah.
But in that scenario, so that's obviously a relatively, I assume, extreme case. But what does that look like?
It's
in terms of
actually
cost
not.
savings? Is it not? Right.
It's actually not.
So so what do you estimate that your average 100-seat business is wasting in storage costs? Like, is there any way to sort of just have a generalized view on that?
There's really not. I can give you some examples of like how much organisations are saving by implementing something like this. So I've got another organisation. They're an Australian engineering company. Yes. Again, not huge user seat wise, but big in terms of the type of information that they're holding. Yeah. They saved $1.3 million in the first year and were able to renegotiate a contract with Microsoft.
Was it all in Azure at that point?
It was all in M365.
Okay.
So yes, it definitely was. Some of it they moved to cheaper storage. Some of it they just got rid of altogether. But their first year cost saving was 1.3 million.
Great. Oh, it's just hectic. Yeah. I think on average, I read somewhere. Don't hold me to it. No, it's legit data. No, 30% on average reduction in storage costs from doing an analysis of your files.
Yeah.
Which if you punch that, if you're a business listening, punch those numbers. It's a pretty good saving. Yeah, absolutely. Wherever you look at it.
And there's not going to be a business that doesn't have excess data, right? Version control of
100%.
Versions are
well, even if you don't, let's say you're the perfect business. First of all, congratulations to you. You come on the podcast and tell us what to do. But let's say you're the perfect business and you're not at that limit yet. You're going to be. So you can either be reactive, where you're having to pay for these extra storage
I love
costs,
the reactive proactive story.
Or you can get on top of it now and never have the issue in the first place. And because you're the perfect business, I've no doubt you're already doing this.
Yes.
So
with AvePoint,
with us, absolutely. And so, but that's the thing. It's not the same as what we talked about when we talked about the Privacy Act and data security. It's not a case of if, it's a case of when. You're gonna hit it. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but potentially in 3 months from now you are.
I actually am really enjoying doing new like migrations into SharePoint at the moment, or optimization pieces where they haven't hit it yet, because I'm like, look, you guys are in the best position to actually have a plan now.
Absolutely.
Like you can sit down and work out what your archive process is. You can actually sit down and figure out some policies where this stuff is just going to be tidying itself. And because it is so reactive at the moment.
Oh yeah.
So I think it is really nice to get to some of these businesses that.
And one of the things we wanted to do just from a like an actual solution perspective is we wanted to show people what was possible. So this is what you could achieve. So that's the first thing, is what could you achieve? What could you actually do? Then we wanted to show them what's going to happen if you don't do something about it. So we give you a forward projection report as well to say, if you don't do something about this now, this is what it's going to look like for you in 3 years.
Love that.
And then we also give you a dashboard that says, and look, this is what you did. So you get sort of the whole.
Everyone loves a little bit of.
I know, but
we've always this is what
been. I say this as I worked in the information management space for 15 years before I joined AvePoint at the age of 11, and so I've been on the receiving end. That's what the Doogie House of Information Management. That's what they call me, actually. It's a good name. Someone write that one down. But I've been on the receiving end of, you're a cost center, you're not contributing anything, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And to be in a position where I can go back to a CIO, a CEO, somebody like that, a director, and say, here's how much we can actively save this organization by just doing some basic information lifecycle.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's nice. Like, that warms my poor, cold, dead information manager's heart to keep it beating like a little bit longer. And then let's reinvest that money in much more interesting things like AI initiatives. Like, let's reinvest in co-pilot licenses. Let's reinvest in stuff like this because we can. Because when you're like, if you're saving, tens of thousands of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in a best case scenario, millions of dollars, there's some cool stuff we can do with that. Much more interesting than just storing old content.
Yeah. All right. I think what we've got at the end of episode 2, if we include episode 1, is we've got that the key focus at the moment on SharePoint is because of the Privacy Act changes, because of AI readiness, and now also because of the need to control storage costs. That's going to wrap us up for episode 2. We'll be back in 2 weeks with episode 3. If you're after Alyssa Blackburn, you can find her on LinkedIn. I'm sure I did. Can't be too hard. And Mita Tait, of course, same thing. If you've got any things you'd like to know more about when it comes to SharePoint, data governance, compliance, any of the topics we've covered to date in this series, please drop them in the comments below if you're watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube. Thanks.